Antoni Benaiges stepped into the quiet classroom in Banuelos de Bureba, Spain, cleaning the class to be ready for students. He placed a heavy, black iron printing press onto a worn wooden desk. The sound echoed against the stone walls.
Curious and wide-eyed, the children crowded around the strange machine. They reached out with trembling fingers to touch the cold metal levers and the gears of progress. Antoni smiled,
handing out thick sheets of paper and jars of dark ink. "Write what you see," he said softly. The room filled with the rhythmic scratching of pens as they wrote of the golden harvest and the rolling village hills. Antoni fed their handwritten pages into the press. Clack, thump. The mechanical heartbeat of the room produced a miracle.
A printed page emerged, crisp and bold. The children gasped in unison.
One young girl reached out to touch the fresh wet ink, her eyes shining. "Now your words can travel," Antoni whispered,
his voice full of pride. He looked at the rows of students and asked a question that hung in the air.
"Who here has seen the sea?" No hand rose. A heavy silence filled the room. Antoni leaned against his desk,
looking at their faces. "I promise," he said firmly, "I will take you to see the sea."
The children cheered, their imaginations taking flight. They drew crashing waves on their notebooks,
dreaming of salt air and an endless horizon of blue. But the sky darkened as the war arrived.
The peaceful silence of the village was shattered by the rumble of heavy trucks through the streets.
Soldiers kicked open the school door, their boots loud on the floorboards. They hauled Antoni out by his collar, dragging him away from his life's work. He did not look back, his eyes fixed on a distance they could not see. He left his books and his dreams behind. The school turned cold and hollow. The printing press sat abandoned, slowly covered in a shroud of gray dust. Days turned into lonely weeks, but no teacher returned to the desk. A neighbor later whispered the devastating news in the shadows. Antoni was gone. He was buried in a nameless pit at La Pedraja, his voice silenced by the earth.
The children grew into adults, their hands calloused by the fields. They married and raised families of their own. Yet, every time they stood on a high hill, they looked toward the distant horizon. They recalled the smell of ink on their fingers and the sound of the press. They remembered the promise made by a man who loved them.
They never saw the physical sea with Antoni, but they kept his stories folded in their pockets like precious charms. They taught their own children to write,
to question, and to dream. The printing press remained silent in the ruins of the school.
But the children carried the vast blue sea in their hearts.
That was his final, most enduring lesson. A dream does not die when the teacher falls. It lives on, eternal, in the minds of those who finally learned how to see.